Alright, all you Sega fans, who remembers Nintendo Power? I'm just kidding, If you were a Sega fan, you remember Sega Visions. This was a magazine that Sega produced starting in 1990 that focused on everything Sega. So just think Nintendo Power, but with Sega. This is issue number 1 of Sega Visions, the premiere issue. We're gonna carefully remove this from its sleeve because this is actually my childhood copy of issue number 1 of Sega Visions. Now, as you can see, this is from June, July of 1990. It was $3.50 if you bought it from a newsstand. I subscribed to it. We're just gonna flip through it and see what was happening back in the summer of 1990 on all things Sega. So, right as we start off, as we see, we have some of the Sega classics. One of my favorite Sega Genesis games, Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. Looks like this may be Golden Axe. We got Ghostbusters, Spider-Man, Joe Montana's Football, Shinobi, but there it is, Sega Visions, a magazine for Sega video game players. So let's get into it, shall we? Right off the bat, we have a big giant Toys R Us ad. For those of you who watch my videos, you know I'm a big Toys R Us ad fan. This was an ad for the Sega Genesis. Move up to Sega Genesis for big time video games at the world's biggest toy store for $189.99. So for those of you that don't remember, the Sega Genesis launched at $189.99. Move up to the glory and excitement of Sega's Genesis video game system. The system you've heard everyone talking about. The system with 16 bits of awesome video power, just like the arcade. And when you buy a Genesis at Toys R Us, you'll also get the amazing Altered Beast for free. Wise from your grave. Find the biggest selection of Genesis games at the world's biggest toy store. So down here below, we've got 4 games advertised. Shinobi, Golden Axe, Tommy Lasorda's Baseball, and Ghouls and Ghosts. I love Ghouls and Ghosts. And we got this lovely 1990s art of a kid sitting in front of a giant screen playing Altered Beast. So let's get into it here. Here's the contents of issue number 1. Meet Michael Katz, Sega's new president. So they have a little article in here on Michael Katz, the game doctor. Like a good shrink, you can really talk to this guy about anything important to you. Sega games. Sega for the 90s, a new generation. The demands of high quality, high power players are met by the high quality and high power of Sega. And they were really taking it to Nintendo. Game reviews. These are all Master System games, I might add, because I don't believe that the Sega Genesis was out quite yet, maybe? Psycho Fox, Golden Axe, California Games, Reggie Jackson Baseball, and Strategy Psycho Fox. Meet Niles Nemo. It's the first time anyone has met Sega Vision's very cool, very colorful comic personality. This dude is really going to be fun to follow around Sega Land. Niles Nemo. Who remembers Niles Nemo? Niles Nemo, very cool dude and major Sega video gamer. Niles Nemo takes his fun seriously. If you want to gain every advantage, read Sega Visions. To get your own copy or sign up a friend, see the card on page 5. And as we get into it, we have an ad already, Air Diver, and a letter from the publishers. And here's an ad for Time Out. Ooh, with some coupons. Good for $1 worth of free play on any games at Sega's Time Out, which back in the day, Sega had a amusement park sort of thing. Amusement center, I guess you can call it. Meet Michael Katz. Here's a whole article on the man, Michael Katz. This is the guy that brought the wars to Nintendo. So there's a whole article on him here. Ooh, look at this. Here's a full page ad for Sega's Hot This Summer. And they're advertising the Sega Master System. That's kind of strange. And here's the Game Doctor. The Game Doctor answers your most commonly asked Sega questions. Such as, question, I love the Sega Master System. SMS. SMS stands for something different these days. But now that Genesis is out, I keep hearing that the SMS will be discontinued. Is this true? Answer. I'm happy to report that rumors concerning the demise of the SMS are not only exaggerated, they're complete nonsense. Sega will continue to support the SMS with over 15 new game titles this year, like Golden Axe, Psycho Fox, And remember, with the addition of the power-based converter, many Genesis users will also be on the lookout for great SMS games. Now, if you remember, the power-based converter was actually that converter that stuck into the top of your Genesis that you can then play your Sega Master System games in it. Ooh, here's a good question. First, it was 8-bit games, and now it's 16-bit games. Shouldn't I just wait for the 32-bit game system to show up next year? Man, apparently, magazines were exactly like the internet back in the day. Answer, you can wait, but they won't be here next year, or the year after that either. Remember, it's not just power, it's screen resolution. Right now, home video games are up against a technological brick wall known as the family TV set. Since Genesis pushes TV capabilities to the limit, better game graphics will depend on HD TV, and they spell it out, high definition television, which is years away. Now this was 1990. Sega wasn't wrong. The HD TV was still quite a few years away from this. Interesting. So there was your Game Doctor section. Let's take a look. Ooh, Game Wizards. These were the folks that you could call if you ever ran into a problem. It's just like the Nintendo Power Hotline. What's this? Watch for your Sega trading cards at page 25. Ooh, Sega trading cards? Did I tear these out when I was a kid? Page 25. I think we need to skip to page 25. Oh my good lord. Look at this. This is so cool. I did not tear out the trading cards when I was a kid. They're all still there. I guess I should probably leave them there. Oh, look at this ad. One of my favorites. Everybody knows what's coming next. This ad says Genesis does, and I guarantee you the next page says, what Nintendo don't. Look at that. And then it's showing all the exclusive Sega Genesis games. Hilarious. What marketing genius came up with Sega does what Nintendo don't? Was it our boy Michael Katz? I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. The Sega mailbox. This is where people can write in to Sega and tell them about their woes, I guess. The Sega decade is here. And you know what? Sega was not wrong. The 1990s was absolutely Sega's decade. In fact, some would say it was an entire decade of Sega. 1990 was the Genesis, and the Dreamcast, which was the last system Sega ever made, came out on 9/9/99. This is, wow, the Sega decade is here. They were not wrong. It was most certainly a Sega decade. The decade started with the Sega Genesis, then went on to the 32X and the Sega CD. Then we had the Sega Saturn, and then after the Sega Saturn, we had the Sega Dreamcast, which came out 1999, and that was the last console that Sega ever released. I'm kind of getting goosebumps just thinking about how that worked. Boy, it's almost like they knew exactly what was going to happen. We got more ads for games like Psycho Fox. There's one for Golden Axe, California Games. I actually really liked California Games. Oh, Niles Nemo in Sega Land. Who remembers Niles Nemo? Alex Kidd. There's an ad for Shinobi. Phantasy Star 2. And there's my trading cards. Look at that. That is so cool. Sega does what Nintendo don't. And that lasted the whole decade. Sega signs Montana. If you remember, Sega had the exclusive rights to the Joe Montana games. And there you go, folks. That is the very first issue of Sega Visions. That was the competitor to the Nintendo Power. If you enjoyed this video, then good news. I have a ton more issues of Sega Visions. Click that follow, like, and subscribe button, and I'll do more videos just like this. Follow along for more interesting videos like this in the future.